Good evening and welcome to the MNB Wrestling Report weekend review video for January 9th, 2011. This is going to be the first video in what we're planning to do weekly every Sunday night. I'm Mknzy and I am the webmaster and leader of the staff at MNBWrestling.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mknzy99. So I'm going to talk a little bit on what was a pretty exciting week as far as wrestling is concerned. First, we're going to touch on Raw. Raw, I thought, was one of the strongest ones they've had and was stronger than any show they had all last year. We opened up the show with John Morrison versus The Miz for the WWE Championship. It was a great match. They worked really hard. Had some awesome spots in it. Was a perfect example of a Falls Count Anywhere match. Really thought Morrison was going to win it for a while, even though going in I knew Miz was going to retain. The big finish came when Morrison went for Starship Pain onto the outside with the Miz perched on a table. Miz rolled out of the way. Morrison went through the table himself. Miz tried to pin him and he kicked out. And Miz then hit the skull-crushing finale on the outside of the ring to pin Morrison. Great match, probably better than any match they had on Raw in the entirety of 2010. Great show, great work by both guys. These guys are, two of the big future main eventers of WWE, so I'm looking forward to continuing to see them develop. We also had what was, to me, a surprisingly good match between R-Truth and Alberto Del Rio. Truth is returning from his seizure, whatever happened to him, that he's been out for a couple of weeks. Looked really good in the ring. Alberto Del Rio put on his usual great performance, with Del Rio's feud with Mysterio ending this week on Smackdown. I wouldn't mind seeing these two go again, and apparently that's kind of what they're thinking. We also had a cage match to determine the number one contender at the Royal Rumble between Sheamus, Orton, and Barrett. The big story here was towards the end of the match, which I thought was fought the way a cage match should be fought. I thought, they were constantly trying to get out of the ring, and I thought that was, I never understood why people will just be, have everybody down and they'll stand there or start attacking again rather than try to get out of the ring. So I really liked the way that panned out. The story was CM Punk came out to help Wade Barrett, who injured his arm, and ended up ripping Barrett's Nexus armband off and knocking him back into the ring, which obviously signifies Punk as the new leader of the Nexus, and Barrett is out. On top of that, we finally had Barrett take the brogue kick from Sheamus. Sheamus then ate an RKO, and Randy Orton calmly walked down the steps out of the ring. So Randy Orton versus Miz at Royal Rumble in a few weeks. Thought it was a great show. Raw was really strong this week. Let's go on to what I thought was an equally strong SmackDown. A couple of the highlights there. Kane versus Edge in a last man standing match. You have to stay up, put your opponent down for a count of 10. Went all over the place. One crazy, scary spot where it looked like Kane was going to try to push Edge in a wheelchair down the steps. They brawled in the concourse, in the upper levels, everywhere. In the end, Edge hit Kane in the knee with a concerto after a spear, and that was the finish. Kane was not able to stand up, so Edge retained his title. We also had Ziggler versus Kofi for the Intercontinental Championship, which actually they fought twice. They had a great match. Kofi ended up winning. New Intercontinental Champion, Vicky Guerrero, announced immediately after that they were going to have the rematch immediately after Ziggler hit Kofi with the zigzag. Kofi manages to hit the Trouble in Paradise, pin Ziggler again. So Kofi is your new continuing Intercontinental Champion. So looking forward to seeing him get a reign. He looked like he was in a great position going when he had his feud with Orton, and he just started making mistakes and fell behind. And hopefully we'll see him really get moving here and do something with himself. We then had a match for the number one contender, Big Show versus Dashing Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre, and then Vicky Guerrero came in and added Dolph Ziggler. They fought for a while. Big Show dominated most of the match. Kind of the story came in when Wade Barrett came down and attacked the Big Show and beat the hell out of him. Match went on for a little bit after that, and eventually Ziggler got the pin on Cody Rhodes to become #1 contender to Edge's World Championship. So we will see Edge versus Dolph Ziggler at the Royal Rumble. I'm actually looking forward to that match. Ziggler has really stepped up his game in the last couple of weeks. I think they could put on a really good show. For the main event on SmackDown, we had Alberto Del Rio versus Rey Mysterio in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Don't see that very often. I always enjoy it when we do. I thought they worked hard, put on a great match. Overall, SmackDown was just really strong this week. WWE programming was really strong this week. It does appear Wade Barrett is now on SmackDown. And I guess that's it for him and Nexus. I guess there's not going to be any continuing feud with CM Punk. They're just, oh, well, I lost. I'm going to SmackDown. Doesn't make much sense, but there it is. Let's talk about a couple of other things that have happened in wrestling. Mainly, I want to talk a little bit on the TNA Genesis pay-per-view that just happened tonight. I didn't actually watch it, as I just couldn't afford to buy another pay-per-view. But for a couple of big notes, we had Matt Hardy come into TNA and defeat Rob Van Dam. What I hear was a pretty decent match. Kind of the amusing note to me, Hardy came down in dreadlocks, and as a result, Tyler Rex started trending on Twitter. You gotta love TNA, and Matt Hardy just got Tyler Rex more of a push than he gotten from the entirety of WWE. Can't help but smile at that. Also, we had an impromptu TNA World Championship match when Ken Anderson won the #1 contenders match against Matt Morgan and was immediately having to face Jeff Hardy. Apparently, there were all sorts of attempts at run-ins, all of which were foiled. Anderson finally hits the mic check on Hardy to win the TNA World title. So I guess Hardy's butterfly belt goes away now? I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's going to go ahead and do it for the MNB Wrestling Report Weekend Review for January 9th, 2010. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. You can visit our website at mnbwrestling.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Mknzy99. That's MKNZY99. I'll hope to see you next week, and thanks for watching.